So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for making it today. And we are really privileged today to be having the guest speaker, Thomas Parrott, who, as most of you know, is the Vice President for Beachbody and is going to be giving us his kind of tips and pointers on leveling up and what it takes to go diamond. And these are tips and things that he has obviously picked up along the way from other teams and things that he's seeing. So he's going to kind of be probably about 45 minutes in total, just kind of cover off, a few main points and then just open up for Q&A so that, we can ask him anything we've got queries on. So thank you so much, Thomas. We are so grateful. And I will hand over to you.
Hey, thanks everyone. Thanks, Izzy. Thank you so much for inviting me to the call. Appreciate that. And thanks for everyone turning up, taking the time. So I recognised, I think all of you. Was anyone not in Latimer?
So Imogen wasn't, and Anchor wasn't.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not going to sort of talk through the mapping, the reverse engineering things. I think you kind of got that. But I want to just talk about a few different things that I think will give you a sense of how to build really constructively in this business. And I'm going to talk really from experience of what I've seen over the last few years, because we really, we launched in the UK in October 2017, and I guess you could say I've now seen a lot. And this is, as I said to you, some of you when I saw you at the Latimer event, I came from a direct marketing background. So direct selling is not, whilst I've worked with the direct selling part of the business here, direct marketing has been my background. And so when I joined the network side of the business, I kind of joined really only 6 months ahead of some of you lot. So if you started on launch day then, and some of your peers would have, then then I kind of was a little bit ahead of you. So I also saw and learned a lot of things as we went along. And it's been really interesting. It's been an interesting journey for me to be able to see what works here. And I suppose I've also seen a lot of people use different strategies or attempt to use different strategies that slightly deviate from maybe what we suggest from a corporate perspective, and also seeing how those strategies tend not to pan out or play out. Because there's a really good reason why we explain in our coach office and in other trainings we do a certain way to operate around the Success Club system, and that is because that's typically how everyone finds success in our business. So let me just talk a little about the Success Club strategy to start off with, and just sort of give you a little bit of a background as well. So Success Club, we talk about Success Club an awful lot in the road to Diamond, and also the road to what we call the road to Elite, and I'll let you just FAQ the road to Elite, because you really will help you understand as you grow in this business why that becomes important. And especially as you go Diamond, then the road to Elite becomes something that is you want to start focusing on, you want to start building. But the Success Club strategy is obviously really important. We put a lot of store in it. Our whole business is almost sort of pivoted around it. But it's also just one component of how the business operates. And whilst it should be at the center of what you do, in how you recruit and invite and just what you think about, it's also just a kind of a small part as well that you have to keep in vision. And so just put that in perspective. And so I think some of you know, when we talked to Latimer, I was also a school governor. I'm vice chair of the governors of the local school here. And SC Club reminds me a little bit of when people focus on just Success Club. It's a bit like when if we had staff or a head teacher that just focused on their SAT results and nothing else. Like, they would just have their one thing that they had to do at the end of the year was get really good year 6 SATs, and that's it. And you can imagine what that would do. Like, they would have you start to not look at absenteeism of the children or the staff. You don't look at the attainment. You don't look at the pupil progress. You don't look at what pupil premium children you do. You can imagine all these different metrics that we use in a school environment that would suddenly just go out of the window if you just focused on one thing, and what that would actually do to your business, or your school, sorry. And your school eventually it might have really good set results, but it would probably be in special measures within the year, because you would have missed loads of really important things. And so just like when I look at stuff for my school and how and the different metrics I need to use, it's like I have almost a dashboard in front of me of different things that I'm looking at when I'm talking to the teachers and the different senior leadership team there. And I don't think it's any different to how we have to look at the coaching business. And I don't think in lots of ways it's any different to how I run the Beachbody UK business. And have done for the last 10 years, and previous businesses to that as well. You have a dashboard of information in front of you, and lots of you who have been leads in departments or run your own companies will have appreciate this concept of looking at different things as you grow your businesses, or as you're trying to. And so that for some of you in marketing, that might be around acquisition metrics and return on investment metrics and those kinds of things. So I want you to try and think about this, and I try to make everyone think about this business when it's new to them, by using some of the same skills or the same context of their existing roles. And so whether that be a teacher or someone in marketing or media or PR, or it doesn't really matter, events, whatever it is you do, there are skills that you're going to take that will that make sense, and you can overlay into what we do here. And so let's go back to that kind of school example of what we need to do. So when we think about coach business, and yes, we are very, very focused on Success Club, but we also need to make sure that we have our dashboard in front of us that we're thinking of. We need to be thinking about our the number of coaches we're enrolling. Of those coaches, how many of them are getting into enrolling activity themselves? How many of them become hit SC1 or SC2 very quickly? And hopefully your trainings and the stuff that you're doing with them, the work you do, and I see a lot of the stuff Izzy does in her trainings and the Getting Started Right, that looks at the concept of the tools we give you as well, the Success Starter, getting to Success Club 5, moving towards Success Club 10, and the awards or the recognition you get through that. So look at those concepts. Look at also what the engagement is like within your groups as another metric. Think about the other metrics that are really important, your team volume. Think about your recurring sales, like how many times does someone buy Shakeology or recover? Like how do you retain them? How many times are they buying again and again? All of those different metrics are also really important, and I think to some of you will have a good idea right now what those metrics are that make up a really strong business. And if you're unclear on that, maybe that's something you should, I urge you to get together and have a sort of discussion around what metrics really make sense for you, not just as individuals but as a team, that help you grow your business, help you grow towards rank advancement diamond. Because rank advancement comes when you start to get all of these little pieces working at the same time. Yes, you've got to reverse engineer, as we talked about at Latimer. You reverse engineer your diamond, your 2 emeralds, your coaches on each side, your 3 coaches. You build those in, but the other things have to work at the same time for you to have strong foundations to be able to grow an actual business, and most importantly to make an income from it. So it's not just about, I don't want any of you to be these flaky diamonds that don't make money. I want you to be like Izzy, who started this business by looking at how this could work and then reverse engineering how you could turn it into an actual business that paid bills, genuinely paid bills. And I inserting some disclaimer, but at this point, but it's the hard work that you put in at this stage will be the concept that gets you the results that creates the income later. And so really very important that you look at this holistically, look at this dashboard first of all, and think about what your dashboard looks like. And maybe that's something that as part of your weekly, it might be as you grow, it's daily. And I know coaches like Jamie Fitzpatrick, who I know very well, I talk to him a lot about what he does with his business. he talks about this dashboard that he's checking all the time. In his head, he knows that when he wakes up, he's got certain things to do. As you grow, that becomes more important, that it's the first thing you look at. For us at corporate, we turn on our laptops, and what's the first thing we see? It's an email dashboard that comes to us with really important metrics. How many coaches were hit Success Club 1 or above so far in the month? How many coaches are Success Club 5 and Success Club 10 versus previous months? How many active coaches there are? How many inactive coaches there are? And then even down to how much revenue we've made and where we made that revenue from, how many HD, so Home Direct Shakeology orders went out, so month to date, how many does that against last month? You can imagine all of these different metrics that I'm looking at, and they're the things that I measure. I'm not just looking at you all and thinking, why, who's diamond, who isn't diamond, who's hit Success Club 10. It's a big measure, because if I just spent all this time focusing on how many diamonds I could get, I'm sure I could get lots, and I'm sure I could convert you all to be like diamonds, but you wouldn't be strong diamonds that would be income earning diamonds. And that's the most important thing to me. I want to make sure that I pay you a check every week. It's really important to me that the thing that gives me the most joy in this business is two sides. First of all, the people and their amazing results that they get from doing the programs, the people you help as coaches. That gives me immense joy. I think I've told you before about how I literally used to send out the t-shirts myself when it was just me in the office when I started Beachbody for Carl in the UK, nearly 10 years ago. And I would sit on a Friday evening, that was like afternoon to evening. That was my Friday. I always saved this job for Fridays, and I would sit and I would go through the Beachbody Challenge results for the UK, and people would send in their forms to me because there was nowhere else to send it. I was the only person in the UK, and I would have this box of t-shirts. I actually had several boxes of t-shirts because we had a t-shirt for each program. So you can imagine I'm sat in this office. It's like 5 meters by 4 meters. There's like boxes of t-shirts all around, and me with envelopes and these forms, and they're like sort of gently sobbing as all these amazing stories come in of people, of people's story. It's really incredible. And some of them really stay with you. You know, people who have life-changing experience. You live in our job, like we live for those experiences, those people whose lives you have fundamentally touched and changed. That's really important. But I also live for those moments when I see people's income increase all the time, and I see the progression that is life-changing. And of course we see, now we're a couple of years in, we're starting to see that momentum grow, and that's exactly how we predicted it would happen, that the network in the UK would grow like this, and we would start to see a progression around now of people understanding how the income bit works, but also how to create really solid foundations for their business. So I want you to think about that first of all, and maybe go back to each other and think about what does your dashboard look like, aside from the important focus I really want you to have on Success Club. I want you to think about what other things you need to check off every week, every day, whatever works for you, that says, yes, I have a healthy business. Think of it as a series of dials, if that's how you're visual. Like for me, I'm really visual. I kind of think about things like, fuel gauge on a car with red and green. And it's like, yes, this is exactly, I'm hitting the right spot. Or no, I need to do more work in this area to balance this out. So there's a sort of starting point. I want you to broaden this out a little bit, because I think it's really important from a foundational point of view. I want you to have a really solid foundations as you grow this business. And that will take work in this early stage. And I'm not no one's kidding here that this doesn't take work to do this business. And the one thing I see is that the people who don't put the work in early tend to just not really make it in this business. They tend to coast. They'll hit Success Club 4, and maybe they'll hit that consistently, but they never really grow in this business. And there's a reason for that. And fundamentally, it's because the reason that we set these markers at Success Club 5 and Success Club 10 as kind of key markers within the business model that we have is that we know that if you have strong enrolling activity that drives people, challengers through your groups, and you can achieve 5 Success Club points a month, or 10, we know that that means that you're generating a series of leads into your groups. And we know that through the funnel, what we see is that as those people go through your groups, they tend to, a percentage of them will tend to become really good coaches because they're inspired by what you do. And so what you have to think about is like, why are we focused on that? That's exactly why we know that that's work. And that's why when we talk about the Success Club tracker that we give you very early on, and I'm sure you get trained on a lot within your groups, why do we so focus on that? Because we know that those are the tools that really work. So thinking about that, and why that's important, and then looking at your dashboard. And I would really urge you to think about the amount of work that takes and allocating that time, especially early on. If any of you have read books that are by people who are entrepreneurs who started businesses, then they will always say that the early years were the hardest years, because that's when they had to really put their pedal down right on the floor. And for me, I can say the same thing. When I've launched a number of companies for different people. I've worked for investors to set up companies for them, and this is like Beachbody is really my third big company that I've launched for someone else. And initially the pain you go through in that first year and a half, 2 years, that's the painful bit, because you really are trying to accelerate through and do all your learnings and create really strong foundations. But I never kid myself about what that means, and that's part of the process. If I hold back, I know it's going to take me way longer and be more frustrating. So I'm very real with myself whenever I've gone into any launch. And I remember even this Beachbody launch, sitting down and really thinking to myself, okay, this is what it's going to take to get this company off the ground. How am I going to manage my time for the next 2 years when I had one young daughter, another daughter actually on the way. At that point, my wife was pregnant with another daughter. We kind of moved house. We're having renovation work. So I'm having all of these other things going on. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to plan this really well, because I know what it takes to do this. So I want to be really clear with you that you have to be that organized and that kind of tough with yourself as well, because I want you to make this work. So that's a starter. But let's look at this business as well from a slightly different angle of the tools that I'm going to give you from a corporate perspective, and what's available to you to make this business really work, because there's so much available for you that and that should be the same information that's available to you that you are going to train and teach into your prospects as they come through. And it's really important that we create something that's duplicatable, and that's what we've really tried to do for you as well. And I know from looking at the trainings that Izzy has run by me, the stuff that she does, that's exactly what she's trying to achieve. And it's a rinse and repeat process. Izzy, I'm trying to think how many times we've looked at different aspects of your trainings and the different things that you messaging you give, and it's like a rinse and repeat, right? It's like nothing.
Yeah, every other week I have a Getting Started Right call. Every other week I have an Everyone in 24-hour call, and then over and above that, kind of 4 times a year I have a business builder group, and I'm touching base with my builders meanwhile. So it is rinse repeat. That's just the way it rolls.
Yeah, and so looking at this, look, what tools am I going to get? Have I got right now for you as coaches who are trying? You're becoming leaders in this business. And part of the mere fact you're here in this call, it means that you're developing yourselves as leaders in this business. And I think about this and how we bring people through and why it's important. They get an email from us within the first few days of sign up. I think it's emailed in 3 days, and then there's an email about 2 weeks after that directs the new coaches to certain information. We signpost them to information in the coach office, and we signpost them to the champions page. And it's really important for us that they understand that information is available to them. We spent a lot of time curating the information in those 2 resources so that you guys have the ability to sort of step away a little bit and say, there's training on that already, and then go and watch that, and then here is my take on that. So you don't have to constantly reinvent the wheel. We provide a lot of stuff for you. The champions page has units. Those units are amazing. like we spent so much time on those, and we did that with leaders from the business who we ran a lot of stuff by them, and we did a lot of tweaking to make sure that those units were exactly the right set of information that would get people started really well, in addition to the information they were already getting from their uplines. But also, remember, not everyone in this business has an upline who is as engaged as you have. You're really lucky. Not every upline is going to be amazing, but you're lucky you've got both here. You've got your upline who's giving you lots of information. You've got the stuff that's going on the champions page. You also have the coach office. Really important, that's ever changing. And if you're looking at coach breaking news, and I really urge you all, I know Izzy's probably done a shout out on this before, but if you make sure that you are getting the coach breaking news, that you're checking the coach breaking news in the coach office, and you're going and looking at the information that's available to you there, because that's really, really important stuff. You have the 411, the Beachbody UK, Team Beachbody UK 411, where we provide a national wake-up call every Monday, where we also rebroadcast the US national wake-up call. Today's was a really good one. If you love Instagram and you're kind of introverted, that was a really good one to review. And then you have the Business Builders Group. And that's, we're tweaking that a little bit more, and we're kind of, again, we're going through a rinse and repeat process ourselves. We're really focused on that group being about people who are genuinely building a business. And we started to remove people who we didn't think were building a business, who weren't showing up and weren't creating the personal volume that we felt was significant enough to call themselves a business builder. And we'll continue to do that. Next year, we will continue to change the rules a little bit and tweak the rules. And that means we get a really, really focused group of people in that group who can really understand what it takes in this business. And so now you've got these extra resources. And what the most important thing is, that then we can drive you to the success system so that you really understand all the different things that go on with that, and you can train your people. Because again, whatever you do, you need to make sure that that is duplicatable into your teams as well. So the road to Diamond is about duplication. It's about teaching the people you bring on what to do and how to do it in the most simple way that you have learned. Most people you bring on, the reason they will understand this and what you tell them is because they're your tribe. So the stuff that you're doing, the stuff that you're learning, generally in the way you teach it, that works for them because they're your people. You brought them in, they're like you. And I see that a lot. Izzy and I go through the team a lot. We look at different people. We see how similar the successful ones are, most similar to how Izzy thinks and how she drives her own business. Okay. Does everyone understand what Success Starter is? So I want you to make sure that you have somewhere written down, like when you're thinking about your training and how you're bringing people on, the importance of Success Starter when you're bringing new people on, because that is one way that's going to help you deliver successful foundation coaches who understand Success Club, who understand and enjoy rewards and recognition. And you'll see in 2020, we've kind of tweaked the rules a little bit on Success Starter. So it's kind of easier. We're going to make it easier for you to hit success, for your coaches, your new coaches to hit Success Starter. And so the Success Starter is essentially hitting Success Club 3 times in the first 6 months of your joining the Beachbody, Team Beachbody. And at the end of that, if you do that, there's a number of things that happen. You get a free summit ticket. So your coach will get a free summit ticket. They get a kind of call, a video call with mostly Kim Carver. So they get to sort of spend time hearing a personalized call from Kim Carver. So really, it's a really cool thing that really helps recognize. But don't forget all the other things that why we teach success, why Success Starter is really good, because it teaches that success for you. It helps you as coaches to deliver really solid consistency within your team, because remember, this whole thing is about consistency. And if you can duplicate, they can duplicate, then we become consistent. Now we've got something that really works. And that's where the Success Club prizes come in. So next year, you'll have a whole set of new Success Club prizes. This year, I think you had T-shirts. If you were here at Success Club for the first time, you got a T-shirt or a vest. You this I think you sort of ramped up into bags. If you you get 1 month prize, a 3 month prize, a 6 month prize, a 9 month prize, and a 12 month prize. Next year they change. Every year they try to change the prizes around. So next year there'll be different prizes. They'll announce those soon. I don't think they've announced them quite yet, so I'm not going to ruin steal their thunder by telling you, but there's some really cool things. We saw them in our CAB meeting, our Coach Advisory Board meeting. We presented with them back in Arizona in October. Again, it's another really cool reason why you want your people and you to be able to hit Success Club. You want the recognition, but you love these prizes. These prizes are really cool. And then, of course, we have the Success Club trips. Izzy I'm sure you heard lots of the news about the cruise that she was on, which was an absolute blast. We have Punta Cana. The next trip will get announced shortly for 2021, and you start earning that trip this year coming. And those trips are epic. There'll be other things coming that we do, but those trips are epic. And then there's travel cash that goes along with all these things. All part of the Success Club program. All those things are designed by us to help you drive success within your team, to drive really strong foundations. And it's really important to us that that you get all of that support, so that essentially we know that if your teams are able to create that level of consistency, they find that they create income for themselves. You obviously are creating income for yourself as well. You're helping people while all this is going on, which is amazing. And you start to build a very solid business of really solid foundations. And the cool thing is, if you're doing all of those things and all of those tools, if you start to think about all those tools, you start to overlay them, and you start to think why we put those tools in place in the way we did, in the cadence we did for Success Starter, for the prizes, for the trips. If you think about how you overlay all of those things, it creates hopefully a bigger incentive than, the income is a huge thing. That's really important. But the concept is that you create consistency through all of those different layers. And someone's like, well, I'm not so worried about having a call with Kim. Well, okay, they have not met Kim, obviously. They don't know how great that is. But maybe they are switched on by a cruise. Maybe they're switched on by travel cash. There's something for everyone. Maybe they're switched on by a really cool new prize that I can't tell you about just yet, that you get when you have 12 months of Success Club next year. So those are all the things that we do to deliver you strong foundations, because if you think about this as a big funnel, and those of you who have read Gary Vaynerchuk's book on Jab, Jab, Right Hook, and he talks about his funnel and how your funnel goes down, and you've got you're pouring people into it, and you've got people coming out of the other side. That funnel is your Success Club. You're pouring your coaches into the top. Your challengers are going in, and not all of them are going to be your greatest coaches. But as you go through this process, as you teach them all these different things, different ones are going to filter out and become your amazing coaches. And that's how you create diamond. That's where the magic starts to happen, because people get inspired by you. They get inspired by the trips you're on. They get inspired by the changes that they see in themselves and the changes they see in what other people, their challenges are achieving. They get inspired by all of those things and the recognition that brings them, because not only are they getting recognized by their challenges, by your challenges, like you're getting recognized for helping someone. There's nothing more amazing than that. You're changing lives, but you also get recognition through the prizes and through the income and the ability to do stuff that you couldn't do before, to live a slightly better life, to live the life that you wanted to lead. And I know that you've done a ton of work on your vision, so that makes a complete sense to you. So that, and then you start to understand now, when you start to place these working coaches from this funnel into your diamond. You remember that diagram I gave out at Latimer? the sort of my basic version of what a diamond looked like. When you start to place working coaches into that, you start to see how diamond becomes really real, but how solid diamond becomes really real. I don't want you to be diamond one week and emerald or ruby the week after, because it wasn't solid. You didn't have strong foundations, because that sets you back. It sets everyone back. And what you want as well as you grow, and Izzy and I have lived this, and I watch lots of other coaches live this. As you are growing your team and you are diamond, and now you're suddenly, your team of working coaches below you is starting to grow themselves. What you want is someone who duplicates what you do, who remains solid, because you want them to go diamond, so you go 1 star, but you want them to hold it for 6 weeks. You want that qualification period, and you do not want, trust me, you do not want to have a coach that doesn't understand what you did, that can't duplicate what you did, goes diamond, and you're suddenly qualifying, and then you're 5 weeks in and they drop. And they're like, well, what happened? Well, that was a lack of foundation. It's the most soul destroying thing. And I see it a lot. I see coaches go through the process and then drop, and different things happen. We have to be really clear. It's really important that we find solid foundations. And so use the other tools we give you as well to create those solid foundations. Use the launches. Has everyone tried Bar here now? Have you all had a go at Bar? I know Izzy's loving Bar. I see Kelly's all over it. Good. Yeah, good. Okay. A classic example of a great launch, a really fascinating launch. Like it's a funny old time of year, but this is the best time of year for this kind of thing. This is an amazing time of year to be getting involved in a brand new launch. Not least because you're now powering through this month in the run up to times when people are not typically focused on working out, but there is always people who realize that they need to do more stuff, that they need to focus because it's a difficult season, the eating and gluttony ahead of them. But you also know that the momentum you build right now is the momentum that takes you into January, that takes you from January, and you start to think about that, into 8 weeks after the official launch, where you're going to have access to Bar, and it gives you now you're propelling yourself into March. Then you have an amazing March. You do think about that, another 8 weeks, and you're propelling yourself into an amazing April. And you start to think about how a launch like that can propel you, how that grows, how exponentially that can grow your business when you have started in December or even earlier, when you've got your work ethic is strong in this month, so that you're not suddenly playing catch up in January, because that means you've missed January. If you're playing catch up in January, you've missed it already. And you're going to start picking up pieces in February for sure. But that means everything is on the back foot. So what you want to do is have a really strong plan coming through December and into January. And Bar's a really good example of how to do that. But so is 4 weeks of the work into 6 weeks of the work. Reasons we've got those two very different launches at the beginning of the new year is because they're different things. Horses for courses. Different people will love different stuff. But think about those launches. Think about why we give you those launches and why they're important to you as leaders as well. Every launch is going to be massively important to you. Just as for me, when I was starting this business up, and I had 3 products when we first started Beachbody. That was all we had. 3 products. They were all DVDs. We had Brazil Butt Lift, P90X, and Insanity. That was it. And we had to make every single launch work from there. And we lived every single launch. As a marketer, you're all marketers. You live for your launches as well. You drive those launches through the rest of your business. You have all your success when you have, I'm sure you've got MM100 groups working, and some of you might still be running MM100 groups. I hope you are, and you're still focused on building those. But your Bar launch is going to run concurrently for lots of you. Your Bar launch will run concurrently. And the next program, the 10 rounds comes, that will run concurrently. You can continue that success. Every launch is going to be really important to building consistency and helping more people. And so embrace every single launch. If you haven't embraced Bar, I really suggest go back and think about why you haven't embraced it, and think about that being important, because there's going to be people who love that. If you're in two minds now and you're thinking 10 rounds isn't quite for me, I'm not big on that kind of thing, then you need to go back and think and have a really serious chat with yourself about why the company that you are strategically partnered with, who's launching a program, is not not buying into it every single opportunity to grow your business with them. And if you have coaches on your team who are umming and ahhing, you've got to figure out how to explain to them the critical nature of creating momentum around new launches and why that's important. I know some of you already are in marketing business. You've done marketing in the past. You've done marketing PR. You understand the value of a launch, but you've got to overlay that into your business. You've got to think about reverse engineering each launch, but also making sure that you take the value of something new, the novelty, and you drive that through. I can't stress enough the importance of ensuring that you understand it and you understand every single product. I think about when we were launching products like Slim in 6 and 21 Day Fix, even for me, I would not say that Slim in 6, when I launched that in end of 2011, I wouldn't say that was my go-to workout, but did I understand every single thing about that program, that workout, when I was running that on TV and we were selling DVDs? Did I read every single piece of literature? Yes. Did I watch that workout several times over to understand it? Yes, of course I did. I wanted to train my call center. I wanted to train my customer service team. I wanted to understand everything. I wanted, when people came to me with questions on social media, because remember, it's me in an office with some t-shirts in the corner and a DVD, and I'm answering the questions on social media. I'm doing everything. I want to know every single thing about that. And that's why it's really important to get behind launches. So then you are now the product of the product, but also the guru within your team, the one that's owning what the launch looks like. Again, think about that from how does that develop your team into diamonds? You're leading from the front. You're explaining to your team why it's important, what's the expectation. If you were all in, running marketing departments and you had people who were not fully engaged with the new product or program that you were all sitting around the table discussing, then there would be a problem, right? You would not sit around the table when you're as a director of a marketing company and think, well, I've got 10 people around here, but only half of them have bothered to read any of the literature or understand the program or do the work or test the product. Like, you expect, when you do this kind of thing from a marketing launch, you expect everyone to know everything so they can fully engage. That's the same should be for your team. That's why you start to think about that. How does that relate to being diamond? It starts to become really obvious that you've got people who are driving success in your team. They're working and building with you. You're creating groups together. You split the work and you create teamwork. So what you now see, hopefully, is this opportunity that we've created where, first of all, you've got this foundation of amazing training. Next, you've got this foundation of recognition and rewards. And then underneath that, you have a consistent, what we would call flywheel of launches that help you grow your business. And then you think about all of that, those kind of pillars, as it were, and then you overlay the diagram of what diamond looks like. And you start to think why that now all starts to make sense. You can start to see why each of those pieces creates really strong diamonds. And that's where the magic happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so, honestly, there's so much amazing information there, some things that I honestly have never even, probably I've thought about them, but not in Thomas is quite practical in the way that he explains stuff, and so I think for a lot of you guys that would have been really, really useful. I hope so. Just before we have questions, I just wanted to touch on a few things that Thomas said that really struck me as really, really crucial things. And this is something that top coaches will say, if you're not being paid every week, you're not running a business. So think about that. And that is something that for me is it's always happening. This is obviously like my full-time income business, despite the fact I don't work full-time hours, which is the joy and beauty of what we do. But are you doing that? Are you achieving that? Is that the objective that you've set yourself? And if you're falling short, what is it you need to put into action right now to ensure that that's happening? Because essentially, if it's not happening, you're letting yourself off the hook somewhere for some reason. And then Thomas was talking about what needs to be checked every day. And this is something that, again, strategically, I haven't kind of explained in a practical way. But every day I'm going into my coach office. You guys will get messages from me sometimes. I go in every morning. I check my volume every morning. I work out where my highest volume week was. I work out where I am. I work out what I need to do. When I get paid, I'm working out, right, where's my volume coming from? Where do I need to focus more on? So that's something that I would strongly advise you to kind of start setting up now, so that when you build, you are going to become more accustomed to that as it builds and grows and gets a little bit more complicated. And acquisition, so focusing on, okay, where did the acquisition happen in my month and what did I do? And I'm always really conscious of that, thinking about, okay, how did I position myself in my stories? Why was I really successful that week and not successful that week? Was it that I needed to do more personal development? Was I on my A game? So really call yourself out on that, because when you start to track and look at that, you can start to just replicate, because you'll go, right, okay, that's where I acquired. What did I do? How did I post even? And something I shared the training actually yesterday, which was an Ashley Molstad training I tripped on, and actually it was really interesting that Thomas mentioned this. And she said, like, the reason why I became top coach is because I was willing to literally work my backside off for 5 years. That's what I had to do, and I was willing to do that, and it came at a cost and a sacrifice. And I'm not saying, you may not want to be top coach, but for any coach that you look at who is highly successful and has a 6 or 7 figure business, if indeed that's what you want to achieve here, that is what they have done. And so, as Thomas said, like, if you're not kind of putting that work in now, is that going to happen further down the track? The champions page units, Thomas mentioned, that is something that has been kind of in the forefront of my mind for quite a long time. We don't run our new coach training through there, but I think it was Haley Christian who just gets all of her new coaches running through those units. And I actually haven't gone through them myself, which I really should have done. But maybe think about that for yourself, for your coaches coming through, if that's something you want to look at. I know that's obviously a highly trusted system and something that's super easy to direct them to.
And we won't, just to let you know, from now on, you cannot get invited into the Business Builders group in the UK without running through those units. That's
okay,
like
well, there we go.
Requirement, but I think it's fair.
Yeah. And then getting behind launches, like, I just wanted to share with you guys that my 2 highest pay weeks by a country mile were literally immediately after MM100 launch and into this bar launch. So if you're not getting behind the programs because you're worried about the cost of the program, you really need to work on your investment abundance mindset. Because that is, if you go, it's network marketing. If you're going in and you're like the expert of the product, then everybody else is going to follow. And it's our job, as Thomas said, to like be those experts, but that is going to propel you. So if you're not getting behind those launches as they come through, you're really, really missing out, and you're missing out on those opportunities to really accelerate towards like diamond or star diamond goals, because that's effectively what you're going to do. You're going to get, new coaches through. So that's kind of all I had to say, but thank you so much, Thomas. And I think I'll just let the guys ask you questions now.
Yeah,
so
fire away. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
If you want to just maybe unmute yourself or. Anyone got any questions, or are we?
Like.
Oh, is that working?
Yes. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, right, cool. Sorry, I didn't catch the training to direct new coaches to. I didn't catch that bit. I'm really sorry. Where is that?
So for us, what I said, there's when a new coach signs up, they get an email from corporate. You should all have got like an email, hopefully, that directs them to our coach office. And there's hopefully you've all found the training tools in Coach Office, and also the units on the Champions page, the Beachbody Champions page, and those units are fundamentals. So those 2 areas first. in conjunction with Getting Started Right and the other trainings that you have with Izzy, those give you really strong foundations. The other stuff that you do along the way, the National Wake Up Calls and the other trainings that we provide, they're all the things that keep your, I guess, your glass topped up with really interesting like tools that you can use. And with National Wake Up Call, I just say one thing. Like with, National Wake Up Call is every week from the US. I don't do one every week in the UK because I feel like you've got enough going on. So I do it every month for the UK, the last Monday of the month. And we try to find something that's really topical for you, that's slightly different to what they're saying in the US. But I do say one thing about the US one. It's always, the North American one is really great. And today's was no different. It was a really great and somewhat different. That won't be for all of you. But I guarantee that every single time you listen to one of those calls, and you can go back in time and listen to older ones as well, they're easy. But you will find one or two nuggets that will work for you. Like, you won't find like every week that there is like, you're like, oh my God, every single thing's amazing. But you will find one or two nuggets. And that's the most important thing for me. You should find that and be able to overlay that and go, how is this going to work for me? But most importantly, how is it going to work for my team? So we've lost Izzy.
Yeah.
Imagine something's happened upstairs.
I think she fell off her chair.
So for anyone else, I'll just run this call. It's fine.
Sorry, I had to go downstairs to unlock the door because my husband's on his way back and he'll be like hammering on the door and then the dogs will be going crazy. So that's fine.
Anyone else?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say I quite like the idea of the dashboard, and I just need to, in my head, figure out, I mean, obviously I go in and check Coach Office and things, but I'm a really visual person, being in marketing as well. And I was saying to Izzy, I think one of the things that I've probably struggled with is that how, that I'm high up in my job, and how I treat my job is very different, I think, up until the last sort of 4 or 5 months, how I've really focused on this as a business. And I think that's been a bit of a switch for me when I realized that actually, I suppose I'm used to pushing a different brand. I'm used to pushing someone else's. I'm not used to pushing me or, in my thing. So I think that's been like the bit of a shift. And so I quite liked the idea of, I kind of need to create whatever my own dashboard is. And I just need to like visualize that, because I've got loads of things. I've got my vision board, I've got my calendar, I've got, that I'm really organized. But I think it's just listening to you, and I realize that that's probably like the little chunk that's missing, because I love a plan. So I like knowing that I've got something that each day, that these are the things I focus on, and I think I do it, but I'm not maybe being mapped out enough with it. So I quite like the idea of, the dials and that kind of thing. So I need to
you make it work for you. I know. And one thing I would say about overlaying what you do in your, your other life, and I think Kelly and we had this conversation a while ago, but it's almost a case of, think about you sitting across the table from you. So put your marketing Donna sitting across the table from your Team Beachbody Donna, and have the Team Beachbody Donna explain the brief. Like, she'll write out a brief, and then the marketing Donna is going to go, yeah, we can do this, and then explain how she's going to do it for you, and then start to think about yourself as the consultant that you've been contracted by Team Beachbody Donna to do it. And then you start to feel then that like, oh God, that now it totally makes sense. How would you deal with that if you went up to you and asked you to help?
Yeah, and I think that's it, is that you're so used to, I can see that in my mind's eye with someone else. If, taking Stephanie, for example, I could look at her and I could sell just, yes, you can do this. These are all your amazing points. This is what you do, that you're amazing at this. And then when you look at yourself, it's so much harder. Mm-hmm. So I think you're totally right. I think I've realized now, just from listening to you, that that's just a little tweak that I can make just to make it a bit easier.
And maybe get someone to do an audit on you.
Yeah, I like that.
Because that even like, I don't talk about auditing Instagram profiles, but often people will kind of get a sense of who you are, sometimes more than you will know who you are, which sounds really weird. And I think the other thing that's really important is that just Donna and I is kind of just thinking about Donna's journey and mine. Like, we're quite similar in some ways, but we're very different in others, in the way that we in the way that we do our business, in the way that we organize ourselves. And that really just resonated with me, because Ashley Molstad was saying yesterday on that call, I'm just a shit show. Like, I'm an organized mess, and that's me, right? So I'm an organized mess. So to me, I'm an organized mess. But I know for some of you guys, you love to have like everything down to the last detail, and you're not going to get that from me. So recognize that as your own leaders, that if you're not getting that from me, because I'm not that person and I'm never going to be that person, I'm sorry, that you need to create that in your own business so that you've got that, because that's going to give you confidence so that you can move forward in your business in the way that your personality likes to move forward.
Yep. And remember as well, as you grow in this business, and you, especially as you go on the trips, and you meet different people, you'll find other people from different teams who are going to be amazing success partners for small periods of time. And I always say, look at a success partner as a 3-month gig, as a starter. But that's where you can start to find people who are different, organized in different ways and doing different things, or sometimes very similar, and you join forces for 3 months. But another benefit of these great trips is you get to meet and talk to people about what they do. And for some of you, I mean, certainly for Izzy, will be coming out to LA in beginning of February for the New Leader Conference. I'm definitely expecting, well, Donna, you definitely will be there. I'm hoping, like, Kelly, you've been on my list. So I'm really expecting the rest of you to be on my list as well for the 2021, it will be, New Leader Conference.
At the least, you'll be on leadership as well, guys.
Yeah, for sure. So, let's make sure that, think about these trips and these events, as well as driving your people to these other side trips as well. We didn't even get to talk about the leadership events, the New Leader Conference, the side hustle things that go on at Summit as well. All of those things are really important ways of meeting and connecting with people who will help you to get to the next level.
Brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it is sometimes you just meet like 1 or 2 people on these trips and they completely change the way that you think about your business. And that definitely happened to me at leadership. Like Emma, for example, who was a guest speaker on our call, like I didn't really speak to her for that long, but there's something that she just kind of flipped a switch in my head. And that's what, I want for all of you guys, because you're going to meet people that you're going to connect with, who are going to be people that you can talk to in the future for sure and work with.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing I'll say as well, as we're thinking about this, as you're growing through your business and you're building your sort of ranks of diamonds, and you're finding people are coming in, don't worry about trying to hold on to everyone at the same time. Like, be critical. I know for some of you who are in Marbella, one of the things Carl talked about in the morning session we did was thinking about your team and thinking, are they all stepping up and working this business? And if they were employees, would they be great employees? What would my appraisal be like of them? Would I be thinking I need to call HR about these particular people and saying, maybe they're not right for us? Because you will find that as you grow through this business, that not everyone will be great. Not everyone will be right for you. And they may not just work, or they may be disruptive, or they may be there may be something that doesn't make them a great person to be. And you sometimes just have to be stronger and hard on as the boss and say, well, either we're going to have an honest conversation about whether you're working or not, whether you're working hard enough or whether you're disruptive. You need to be, as you're getting into this mindset of being a leader, as you're all driving towards leadership in this business, you've got to think like leaders of your own business. Would you have these people in your own business? Because it is your own business. You're CEOs of your own business here. Each individual one is an individual CEO. So think about the people in your team and make sure that they're the right people as well. And don't be afraid to go, you know what? They aren't right for me. And I don't mind if they go. I don't mind if I lose them. You've got to be that hard sometimes as well. And some of the biggest successes I had in the UK coaches this year, where people flipped through diamonds, were when they had that realization, that stark realization. They were holding on to people, trying to force them, almost like forcing a square peg in a round hole. You sometimes just have to let people go and move on, because they're taking up your time. And that time is when you could have been finding your next best coach. So make sure you're really hard on the and sort of kind of hard nosed as well. Like while you're helping people, you also are not community officers or community service people or social workers as well. You have to think about like that as part of your team as you grow. Some people are great challengers. They're not necessarily great teams. They're not necessarily great coaches to have on your team.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Thomas. It's been amazing. Has anyone got any other questions? No. Can we do a boomerang, please?
Yes.
I'm just going to get my phone up. So I'll do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you guys, and I will post a recording later on. And Thomas, thank you again so much for giving us an hour of your time in the evening. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. And I'm really hoping that as we all grow, I'll do like calls for all of you and your individual teams as well. That's definitely something we want to really work on. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about congratulating and recognizing you and your teams as you grow through Success Club. And especially next year as we change some of the recognition around so that we are recognizing you for the efforts you make as leaders in Success Club as well. So I think it's going to be really, really cool. Lots of important stuff going on, and we really appreciate what you do. So thank you very much as well.
Thanks so much. Have a good wrist operation. Take care. Bye.